Mr. Scully, it's Michael, Don, and Peter. How are you today?
Well, I'm fine, and I trust that Michael, Don, and Peter are the same. It's nice to chat with the three of you. I don't mean to interrupt your conversation about basketball, but there is a Vin Scully Lifetime Achievement Award, which has been sponsored for 11 years now by WFUV and Fordham University, and it's my pleasure to announce for the first time that the recipient of the 11th award goes to none other than Michael Kay. And, of course, you now are the product of WFUV. You've moved on to great heights with the Yankees. And from all of us, welcome to the club and congratulations.
Wow. I am beyond honored. I'm humbled. And, I'm sorry, but my name should not be connected with your name in any way, shape, or form. But the fact that I've been chosen for this will be something that I will cherish for the rest of my life. Just to have my name on an award that is named after you, I'm almost speechless, which is rare for me, but it's one of the great moments of my life. Thank you so much.
Well, I don't award. In other words, they really keep it clean. The first recipient of the award was me, so I didn't think I deserved that at all. But as the years have gone by, you have joined, some of the great voices, some of the great talents that the industry has ever produced. We're talking about people like Dick Enberg and Bob Costas and Al Michaels. And there are just so many. And as I said, we're all delighted to have Michael Kay pull up a chair.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm going to save that forever, that cut of you just saying that, and I'm going to play it on my phone over and over until I'm 110 years old. It'll be my ringtone.
Yeah. Vin, exactly how many other great broadcasters were busy before you got to Michael?
Oh, wow.
No, you know what? Honestly, it was a clean sweep from what I've heard.
Well, thank you so much.
99.9%.
I can't believe it. So thank you, and thank you to the people at WFUV at Fordham. I really don't know what to say.
It's a pretty amazing thing. Well, I know what to say. Vin, how are you enjoying retirement? Do you have any weird feelings about the baseball season starting tomorrow, or are you completely used to it now and comfortable?
The word that would describe me the most right now would be content. I truly feel in my heart I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. It was a great ride, 67 years doing big league baseball, and I loved every minute of it. But when the time came when I started thinking seriously about the fact I was going to come up to be 90, and I also thought, you've had so many great yesterdays, but how many tomorrows do you have left? And I opted to go for the tomorrows. And as I said, I'm enjoying every minute of it.
I thought one of the great moments of last year was when you came out for the World Series games. I just thought the Dodgers did such a wonderful job, and it must have been such a kick for you to hear that love from the crowd, which, you felt that throughout your whole career, but then to come back and obviously they still miss you. What was that like standing on the field and calling out Valenzuela?
Well, I was all tongue-in-cheek, and my first thought after they asked me to do it was to be brief as possible without just letting it go down the drain. And I tried to do that. But, I've had such a great career, and I know that the force behind the career was the Lord himself. I don't take that for granted at all. So I'm just extremely thankful for having done what I have done, and I'm grateful for whatever is left as I look back at years of enjoyment, friendships, and now Michael Kay is another one of them.
Well, thank you so much. During the World Series, I just wondered about this. Did you have an itch to call the game?
No, not really, in all honesty. One of the strange feelings, when you're broadcasting a big league game, basically you're pretty much behind home plate. But they had us in the owner's suite, which was lovely. However, the owner's suite at Dodger Stadium is past third base and down the left field line. And all of a sudden, I'm watching a game sideways instead of full on. And I didn't enjoy that at all because I couldn't tell whether I thought the pitcher had good stuff. I couldn't tell balls hit in the air. I couldn't judge where they were, whether the outfielders could catch them. So it was a very strange experience. I enjoyed the fact that they had us there. We were honored to be there. But actually, the sideline was not much fun for me at all.
I'd heard rumors that Joe Buck and Fox wanted you to come in and do as many innings, if the whole game, if you wanted to, then that you turned it down. Was that rumor true? And if so, why did you turn it down?
Well, yes, it was true. Joe was a terrific guy, and I loved Jack, his father. In fact, Jack and I had many a laugh together over our years together. And Joe was being very thoughtful and kind and generous. After all, when you're doing the World Series, that's the spotlight. That's the high of your career. And for him to say, we would like to have Vin come and do it, I truly appreciated it. But I also turned him down for one reason. I didn't feel that I belonged there. I hadn't slugged it out all year, all the nights and days on the road, everything that goes with the job. And although it was nice of them to consider me, I thought to myself, no, Scully, you don't belong there. You belong watching the game quietly with your wonderful wife. And that's a thrill enough for me.
Vin, what do you miss most about doing the games?
You know, people have asked me that, and the honor is, for me, the roar of the crowd. If I had a trademark, it would be to try and call a play as quickly and as accurately as possible, and then shut up and let the crowd react. I learned to love the crowd when I was growing up in Washington Heights. I would be under a radio listening to a football game. This was long before radio broadcasts. And I'd hear a football game, Tennessee, Alabama. Had no idea about anything. But when someone scored a touchdown and the crowd roared, I would get goosebumps. And this would be starting about 8 years old. And I found out that it's not exactly the source of life, but when I was doing baseball, I would shut up, the crowd would roar, and I'd be, for at least a few seconds, I'd be 8 years old again. And eventually, a writer wrote a column, and after one of the World Series games, there was a home run, which I called, but then they were going to replay it on tape, and I thought, well, why would I want to call it again? I just called it, so I shut up. And sure enough, the writer wrote that perhaps Vin Scully made his greatest contribution by his silence. And I thought to myself, you know, that's exactly how I feel. So I still, in this lifetime, I still make my greatest contribution by shutting up.
Well, we're not going to let you shut up for a couple more minutes. I've always wanted to ask you this. Who's the greatest player that you ever saw with your own eyes?
Well, you know, I do have to put some parameters on it because basically I really saw the National League.
Right.
The American League was, in those days, you only saw them in the World Series. And so the greatest single player, with so many others directly behind him, but the best all-around player in the National League that I saw would have to be Willie Mays. When he first came up in those years where he was truly magnificent, I do know I watched Mays, who, of course, is a Hall of Fame center fielder, but I watched him take infield, and he could have been an infielder. He had everything, speed, quick feet, great hands, marvelous arm. So he could have played, I think, almost anywhere on the field, maybe with the exception of pitching. So in the National League, he'd be number one, but oh my gosh. I mean, Roberto Clemente, Henry Aaron, the list goes on and on. And of course, being a New Yorker, even though I was a Giants fan, I truly admired Joe DiMaggio and then Mickey Mantle.
Vin, there's been so much talk about pace of play, Major League Baseball trying to institute rules. Did you find there was a problem with pace of play towards the end of your career?
No, I didn't really. I'm not too happy about the way the game is being played now. When I started, and for many years, the starting pitcher took the ball with the aim of pitching 9 innings. If he didn't go 9, okay, they'd come and rescue him in the latter innings. Today, it seems like the starting pitcher goes to the mound, and with 1 or 2 exceptions, he goes 5, and everybody thinks he's great. And then 7 pitchers come in to get through the game. That's probably where the issue is, the time involved. But you know what? I mean, I was a fan growing up in the bleachers and the Polo Grounds. So as a fan, I remember years ago, Larry Jansen was pitching against a pitcher named Charlie Red Barrett, and the time of game was like an hour and 40 minutes. And I came home grumbling. I was so unhappy that the game was played that fast. So I don't know if the fans are really unhappy about it. The broadcasters are. The writers are. Some people who work in the business would like the games to be shorter, but I'm not sure if it really thrills the fans or not.
Vin, during the time around your retirement, so many people were professing their admiration for you. And being in Los Angeles, which is a place filled with so many important stars and influential people, were there any people who came and told you about what you meant to them that totally took you aback, that you were such an impact on them?
You know, in all honesty, the entire year of 2016 took me aback. And one interesting point about it, not to dodge your question, but when I was 8 years old, that was the year, and maybe, coming up 9, I was coming home from grammar school, and I went by a Chinese laundry, I'll never forget, and there was the line score of the 1936 World Series, and if I remember, the final score was something like Yankees 18 and the Giants 4 or 5, something like that. And my reaction was, oh, those poor Giants. Well, my grammar school was about 20 blocks from the Polo Grounds, so being now a new converted Giants fan, I grew up going to the stadium, the Polo Grounds, that is, and I became a Giant fan from 1936. Okay, the big thing that was important, 80 years to the day, my last game involved the San Francisco Giants against the Dodgers. So it seemed like the book of instruction was laid out for me, and all I had to do was read it. So from 1936 to 2016, that's a long 80, and I loved every minute of it.
That's not fair to keep you on. It's not fair to keep you on forever, but I've always wanted to ask you this. You became friends with Jackie Robinson, personal friends. Did he ever speak about how much he was hurt by all the hatred when he came up in 47?
No, not to my knowledge. I mean, I was a good pal, but not an intimate pal.
Okay.
I mean, I wasn't Don Newcomb or Roy Campanella, someone who would be with Jack a lot. But we were good friends, and I admired him immensely. And I know he knew of my admiration because I saw a little bit of what he went through in my rookie year in spring training. In my first year, we went from Vero Beach, Florida to Brooklyn by way of Texas. And we stopped all over the United States, especially in the southern part. And I saw things that made me grimace. I couldn't believe that Jackie could go through his business, but he did. And I often told him how much I admired him. It was unbelievably difficult for him, or for others who played with him. I mean, there's often the story of Pee Wee Reese going over and putting his arm around Jackie. But another that I remember, we were in St. Louis, high foul ball off first base, Gil Hodges coming over to make the catch, and Jackie Robinson right behind him, and a whiskey bottle came out of the upper deck and just missed hitting Gil Hodges in his face. There was as much pressure on his teammates in some instances as there was on Jack, and everybody held up to it. It was a marvelous thing to see men really acting like men.
Vin, I want to thank you, A, for coming on, and B, mostly, I am so humbled and honored to be named the recipient of this award. I think you know how I feel about you and how everybody in the broadcast industry feels about you. I'm at the point of being choked up, and I don't want to cry on the air, but this is certainly a highlight of my life, and I want to thank you for actually coming on the air and telling me personally. I'm just blown away.
Well, believe me, Michael, it's my honor to present you with the award and also have a chance to say hello to Don and Peter as well. It's been my pleasure, and I know you're looking at the clock, so it's time for me to do what I do best. Shut up.
All the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vin.